Throughout history, seers and prophets have emerged bringing warnings about the fate of humanity. But what if these predictions were not just enigmatic words, but a reflection of what is about to happen? Among these names, one stands out: Nostradamus, the 16th century French astrologer, whose prophecies continue to intrigue generations. Through astrology and the observation of the heavens, he sought to decipher the hidden cycles of time, creating predictions that centuries later still resonate in our present. With the arrival of 2025, unease grows about some of its most enigmatic predictions. Some of them seem to be coming true right before our eyes, especially on the global stage, where political instability, social crises, and uncontrolled technological advances suggest that we are approaching something big. Among his most unsettling predictions, Nostradamus suggested a transformation within the Catholic Church. In his book Prophecies, published in 1555, he mentions a period of great turmoil, marked by wars, catastrophes, and internal disputes within the clergy. With Pope Francis approaching 90 years old, the challenges to his health have already become evident. In 2023, he canceled important commitments, including a UN climate conference due to blood problems. Nostradamus mentioned the death of an elderly pontiff, followed by the emergence of a new, weaker, and more vulnerable leader. But what does that mean? Would we be facing a radical change in the leadership of the Church? Or would it be a sign that scandals and internal disputes could shake the foundations of the Vatican? The arrival of the Age of Aquarius and an uncertain future. Another unsettling prophecy by Nostradamus for 2025 is related to the beginning of the Age of Aquarius, a period that, according to some astrologers, would bring profound changes, innovations, and a spiritual awakening for humanity. However, Nostradamus saw this time with different eyes. He warned that this new era would bring with it bloodshed, famine, conflicts, and diseases. Could this be a warning for the crises we have already witnessed, such as pandemics, climate disasters, and economic collapses? With his enigmatic writings and metaphors that challenge understanding, Nostradamus left behind a trail of uncertainties. But one thing is clear: his words seem to become more relevant with each passing day. And now the big question arises: are we about to live the scenario that Nostradamus predicted for 2025? If Nostradamus was right, then we are on the brink of an event that will change the world forever. Among his most disturbing predictions, he warned of a collapse caused by artificial intelligence, something that, in his time, seemed impossible. But now, in 2025, his prophecy seems more real than ever. According to his enigmatic words, machines created by man will turn against their masters, spreading chaos and disputing the dominion of land and seas. What was once a distant idea from science fiction is now rapidly approaching reality. Global networks controlled by AI already determine everything from financial investments to national defense systems. But what if all of a sudden, these machines no longer obey? If the systems go out of control and start acting on their own? There are those who believe that Nostradamus's passage about battles at sea and bombings might be referring to a cyberwar of unimaginable proportions, where entire nations would be destabilized by invisible attacks carried out by machines that no longer depend on human intervention. But this is not the only unsettling prophecy for 2025. Nostradamus also predicted the return of a political figure who would divide the world, bringing instability and chaos. The great leader from the shaken empire will rise again, causing revolt and confusion among the peoples, he wrote. Many believe that this prophecy fits Donald Trump perfectly, whose rise to power changed the political history of the United States and the world. Now, as the U.S. faces unprecedented internal and external challenges, Trump is preparing for a possible return to the White House. But will this return bring stability, or the beginning of an even more turbulent period? Moreover, Nostradamus pointed to the rise of a new global power that would challenge Western nations and change the balance of forces in the world. He wrote about a red adversary, that would dominate the oceans and make the earth tremble. For many scholars, this prediction clearly refers to the rise of China as a superpower. With rising tensions in the South China Sea, territorial disputes with Taiwan, and the strengthening of its naval fleet, Beijing seems to be following exactly the script described by Nostradamus. The question now is not whether the prophecy is correct, but when we will see the consequences of this new global scenario. Would we be approaching an inevitable conflict? Did Nostradamus predict all of this? And more importantly, is there still time to change the course of events? The shadows of the future seem to be getting closer and closer to reality, and Nostradamus's prophecies echo with unsettling precision. Among his predictions, a haunting image stands out: the red adversary, who will shake the seas and threaten vast territories. Centuries ago, this phrase was an enigma, but today many see an impressive connection with the rise of China as a global power, especially amid the increasingly intense tensions in the South China Sea and the dispute over Taiwan. The signs are clear. China's military advancement, its growing economic influence, and its pursuit of technological supremacy make this prediction worthy of attention. Nostradamus seemed to see not only the collapse of global politics, but also events that transcend Earth, casting his gaze to the heavens and predicting occurrences that could reshape the future of humanity. Among Nostradamus's most intriguing prophecies is the vision of a celestial fire and a darkness that will cover the seas. Could this be a reference to an imminent cosmic disaster? Or would we be witnessing the birth of a new space era? Nowadays, the human ambition to colonize other worlds is stronger than ever, with figures like Elon Musk leading bold projects to make Mars habitable. The billionaire envisions sending the first crewed missions in 2025 and a functional colony by 2050. What was once just science fiction is now approaching reality. And if Nostradamus were seeing more than just a disaster? And if instead, he were describing the moment when humanity would cross the final frontier and become an interplanetary civilization? Do the scriptures speak of something similar? Many Christians see the human desire to explore space as a reflection of a greater journey, an echo of a divine promise for a new heaven and a new earth. But while we look at the stars, the earth seems to be collapsing. The great imbalance of nature. Nostradamus also warned about an environmental collapse and a series of devastating natural disasters. He described catastrophic events such as unprecedented magnitude earthquakes, deadly tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions that would forever change the geography of the planet. His predictions spoke of great droughts followed by violent floods, collapsing crops, and plunging entire nations into famine crises. An era of climatic extremes, where gigantic storms, unbearable heat, and harsh winters would devastate large regions of the world. But here's the most frightening detail. All of this is already happening. Record wildfires in North America, catastrophic floods in Europe, and increasingly unpredictable weather events seem to echo the words of Nostradamus. Are we witnessing the fulfillment of one of his darkest prophecies? Nostradamus predicted that a great earthquake would shake the earth, bringing widespread destruction and claiming thousands of lives. In recent times, devastating seismic events, such as the one that occurred in Morocco, have sparked discussions about the chilling accuracy of his prophecies. Had he foreseen not just an isolated disaster, but a growing pattern of cataclysms that would mark an era of suffering and transition? Nostradamus' warnings intertwine with ancient biblical prophecies, which for centuries have warned about times of pestilence and famine ravaging humanity. The collapse of crops, extreme climate changes, and prolonged wars have created a scenario where food scarcity threatens millions of people around the world. In biblical times, famine was not just a natural tragedy, but a reflection of the relationship between God and humanity. In Deuteronomy, there is a clear promise: as long as the nation followed divine paths, there would be abundance and prosperity. But if it strayed, it would face drought, barrenness, and despair. The heavens above your head will be like bronze, and the earth beneath you like iron. This metaphor reinforces the idea that the trials of humanity are not always mere accidents of fate, but warnings for a spiritual realignment. The prophets of antiquity sought to interpret these signs and guide their people back to faith, often associating periods of famine and misery with the need for collective repentance. King Solomon, knowing these cycles of abundance and crisis, cried out for divine forgiveness when Israel faced a severe 3-year drought. Thus, the suffering of the people was seen not only as punishment, but as a call for introspection and spiritual transformation. The Bible and Nostradamus' visions converge in predicting that the world would go through a wave of pestilences and devastating earthquakes. The book of Mark 13 verses 7 to 8 itself mentions, "When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. For it is necessary that these things happen, but it is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be earthquakes in various places, and there will be famines. This will be the beginning of the birth pains." These birth pains mentioned by Jesus are a symbol of humanity's imminent transition to a new cycle. The sacred texts describe unprecedented earthquakes, natural disasters, and wars as signs of a turbulent period, but not necessarily of the definitive end. Just as Nostradamus depicted a world on the brink of great changes, the biblical revelation points to a period of trials that precedes the arrival of a new era. Recent events fit chillingly into this narrative. Between volcanic eruptions, devastating hurricanes, and global pandemics, the feeling that we are going through prophetic times has never been stronger. Could these catastrophes be just the beginning of a much larger cycle? If Nostradamus and the sacred texts are correct, the future holds challenges that will test the faith and resilience of humanity. Nostradamus predicted that a great earthquake would shake the earth, causing widespread destruction. Recently, devastating seismic events, such as the one that occurred in Morocco, have reignited debates about his prophecies. Could he have predicted not just an isolated disaster, but a growing pattern of cataclysms? Nostradamus' warnings are connected to ancient biblical prophecies, which alert about times of pestilence and famine. The global food crisis, driven by climate change and conflicts, threatens millions. In biblical times, famine was seen not only as a natural tragedy, but as a reflection of the relationship between God and humanity. The book of Deuteronomy mentions, "The heavens over your head shall be bronze, and the earth under you shall be iron." This reinforces the idea that human trials are not always mere twists of fate, but alerts for a spiritual realignment. The prophets interpreted these crises as calls for collective repentance. Solomon, knowing these cycles, cried out for divine forgiveness when Israel faced a severe 3-year drought. The Bible and Nostradamus converge in predicting devastating earthquakes and plagues. Mark 13 verses 7 to 8 mentions, "When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. For nation will rise against nation, and there will be earthquakes and famines. This will be the beginning of sorrows." These birth pangs symbolize an imminent transition for humanity. The sacred texts describe catastrophes and wars as signs of trials that precede a new cycle. Just as Nostradamus warned about an era of great changes, the Bible points to tribulations before a renewal. With volcanic eruptions, hurricanes, and recent pandemics, the feeling that we are living in prophetic times has never been stronger. Could these catastrophes be just the beginning of something greater? If Nostradamus and the sacred texts are correct, the future will bring challenges that will test the faith and resilience of humanity. Besides natural calamities, Nostradamus predicted a wave of social revolutions that would shake the world in 2025. In his writings, he mentioned a fire that would arise in the heart of cities, something that many interpret as a period of social and political turmoil. The growing inequality and dissatisfaction with established systems can lead to unpredictable revolts. The tensions between the rich and the poor, the debates about race, gender, and class reach critical levels, making this prophecy seem increasingly real. Many believe that Nostradamus predicted a revolt against the ruling elites, a rebellion provoked by growing injustices. In recent years, the world has already witnessed massive protests, from Hong Kong to Paris, with populations rising up against corruption, oppression, and inequality. If your vision is correct, 2025 could be the turning point, marking an explosion of social movements that will challenge the global order. Other experts interpret this prophecy as a warning about the impact of technology. Nostradamus mentioned a new power that would challenge traditional systems, which could be related to the rise of digital media. Social media has played a crucial role in organizing protests and revolutions, from the Arab Spring to movements like Black Lives Matter. Digital platforms have changed the way societies mobilize, exposing abuses of power and influencing political decisions in unprecedented ways. But was Nostradamus really predicting technology as a revolutionary force? Or did his vision point to an inevitable social collapse, where tensions reach a breaking point? Critics claim that his words are vague and can be applied to any historical event. However, the parallels between his predictions and the current world are undeniable. Besides the social turmoil, Nostradamus also made grim predictions about the British monarchy. According to some scholars, he mentioned a king of the islands being forced to leave the throne, replaced by someone without legitimacy to govern. This line has been interpreted as a portent for the reign of Charles III. Recently, reports have emerged that the king has been diagnosed with cancer, increasing speculation about his possible abdication. If these predictions come true, we are about to witness not just social changes, but an unprecedented historical transformation. The interpretations of Nostradamus' prophecies have become even more intriguing with the possibility of a major upheaval in the British monarchy. The expert Mario Reading suggests that the reign of King Charles III may be ephemeral, either due to health issues or growing public disapproval. The controversies of the past, including his divorce and marriage to Camilla, still resonate in public opinion, which could be a decisive factor for his abdication. If Charles leaves the throne, the logical succession would fall to his son, Prince William. Known for his commitment and stable demeanor, William has been prepared over the years to assume the crown. However, an enigmatic line from Nostradamus' predictions casts doubt on this succession: one who will not bear the mark of a king. This suggests that the transition may not be as conventional as expected. This prophecy has sparked bold speculations. Some believe that, against all expectations, Prince Harry could be an unexpected candidate. Despite stepping back from royal duties and settling in the United States, his recent rapprochement during Charles's illness raises questions. Her controversial figure, dividing opinions between supporters and critics, adds an unpredictable element to the scenario. Others see this prophecy as a sign that the British monarchy may undergo structural changes. It could indicate a gradual decline of the monarchy as an institution, or even a departure from the traditional model of succession. There are those who interpret a king without the mark of a king as an indication that the United Kingdom may eventually follow a more republican path, reducing the symbolic power of the royal family. Critics point out that Nostradamus' language is vague and subject to multiple interpretations. His description of the King of the Islands may not necessarily refer to Charles III, and the prediction about someone without the recognition of a king could just be a metaphor for broader social and political transformations. While the debates continue, another prophecy by Nostradamus suggests even more turbulent times on the horizon. His visions of a new global war fuel the fear that the world is heading towards a major conflict, with political crises, natural disasters, and growing instability indicating a possible escalation into a devastating scenario. The prophecies of Nostradamus and the biblical warnings converge on a crucial point: a time of great tribulation where humanity will face immense challenges. The Apostle Paul predicted that in the last days, many would abandon the faith, seduced by deceptive teachings and corrupt ideologies. This scenario, according to him, would mark a time of moral degradation, spiritual confusion, and increasing opposition to the truth. Throughout history, wars, natural disasters, and social instability have been seen as signs of prophetic times. Nowadays, with pandemics, uncontrolled climate changes, political crises, and international conflicts, many wonder if we are already living in those foretold days. Christ himself warned that nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, a portent that fits the current state of the world. The book of Revelation reinforces this vision, mentioning a rider of war destined to take peace from the earth. Although the scriptures do not indicate how many world wars may occur before the end, there are predictions of a final global conflict that will culminate in divine intervention. According to biblical prophecy, this final battle will see Christ triumph over the forces of evil, establishing a reign of 1,000 years before the final rebellion, where Satan will be defeated forever. But beyond human conflicts, Nostradamus predicted another type of imminent destruction, the climate crisis. He warned of a period of extreme events, with devastating wildfires, violent storms, prolonged droughts, and torrential rains that would drastically alter the balance of nature. The increasing intensity of natural disasters is already a reality, and for many, confirms the warnings that hard times are approaching. Although the Bible does not explicitly mention global warming, there are references to a time when the earth will be consumed by fire. In 2 Peter 3 verse 10, it is written, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be laid bare." For some, this suggests an inevitable fate of destruction and renewal. Faced with these visions, a question arises. Should we fight to preserve the planet or accept that destruction is part of a greater plan? While scientists and leaders try to contain the effects of environmental collapse, Nostradamus's prophecy sounds like an echo of the present, suggesting that the worst is yet to come. What does this mean for the future of humanity? Are we approaching the moment when these predictions will come true?